You've literally grown up with football in your blood, with your dad, Big Pete, playing for Connah's Quay. Was it always football that was going to be your sport, and how much of an impact has he had on your life and your career in football?
Yeah, I think obviously when I was growing up, originally it was obviously just me and my older sister, and obviously if you meet both of us, it was definitely not going to be her that played football. I think my dad thought, well, maybe one of them will play, and it definitely wasn't going to be her. Later on, obviously my brother came and he plays as well. He also plays for Connah's Quay, so I'm assuming my dad's really proud of him as well. But yeah, I've started at such a young age, but mainly just playing with my dad. He's obviously had a massive influence on like why I play and like why I still played. He took me to every game. He travelled around the country. He still does. He's got as many stamps on his passport as we have. Because he likes to come to every game. Yeah, no, so he's been a massive influence, and he knows he's my biggest fan, and I know he is mine as well.
Yeah, it's always nice bumping into him at games and having a bit of a catch up. But your career, it started at such a young age, like coming into the Welsh team as a 16-year-old. I remember that and thinking, who's this young whippersnapper coming up to try and take my place as a centre forward? But how did it feel at that point, coming into the squad with some fairly established players that are still in there now? How did you feel making that moment?
Yeah, obviously it was a massive moment for me. It was a massive moment for my family. Like, I'm obviously very proud, like Welsh person. It's when you're younger, everything you strive to be. It was just a stage of my career where everything happened so quickly. Because I started, at a young age, but like then at a later age than most. So I didn't start playing football for a team till I was like 10. And then you talk about like 5-6 years later, I've made my first team debut for Everton, and I've also got my first senior cap. And you think in all that time, I've also like been scouted for Everton. I've also gone on 15s, 17s, 19s camps. So it was like obviously quite a whirlwind time, but I'm quite glad it happened like that. I didn't really have time to think about what was really going on. It's only now that I reflect on all them things and I think, wow, I had such a great opportunity at such a young age, and I'm really lucky to have had spent time in the squad with such experience and great players. Obviously this is how we've ended up as mates. Even if I was a centre forward coming in at the time, obviously then I ended up playing every position.
I was going to say, you in that first few years, you must have played in every position apart from in goal. And I expect you probably would have done all right there too. But I mean, that point of your career was going really well, but nothing in football is ever plain sailing. And having the absolute season of your life, once you nailed down the fact that you wanted to be a centre forward and that was where you're going to be best on the pitch, absolutely flying here for Palace, top scorer in the division, golden boot, scoring a couple against Kosovo, and then bang, the dreaded 3 words, or 3 letters I should say, ACL. How did that feel?
Yeah, I feel like because it's so common in the women's game, you know how bad it's going to be. It's just that you never think it's going to happen to you. So for so long I was always quite empathetic and like sympathetic to people that had done it, but I never understood how they felt. And to be honest, I didn't want to understand how they felt. So the first thing I did once I did mine was I started speaking to the girls in and around teams that I've been in, and I almost was apologetic. I almost said, I'm so sorry that as a team or like as a teammate, I wasn't there for you more, because now I understand how bad it is, and all you wanted was more people to understand like how you felt on certain days.
And did you know when you did it? Like, what was that feeling on the pitch in that moment? Were you scared straight away? And then obviously once the actual diagnosis comes, did that change how you felt instantly? Or
I felt, obviously I was in a really unique situation in terms of the same day we on a technicality won the league, I've also done my ACL. At the moment I was involved in the tackle, I knew it was bad. So I stood back up and carried on playing for 10 minutes.
On the side, I that,
I carried on playing for 10 minutes and one of my teammates scores. And I remember thinking, like, I think we're going to win the game now. And obviously it was a really important game that we needed to win the league. And I thought, and am I doing the best thing for the team now? And I go in and at half time, this was before I was like going at half time, and I just burst into tears. And I was like, I think this is so bad. But again, the unique situation I ended up being in was that we were at the end of the game, we were celebrating. And the week that we had was so up and down for me as a roller coaster, because it was like we potentially won the league with the 22 goal difference that we had. And
how many of them are down to you, by the way?
And then on the Monday I've got a scan to find out on the Monday night that obviously not just my season was over because there was only one game left anyway, but my next 9 months, 9 to 10, 12, whatever, however long it was going to take me.
For both club and country.
For both club and country was now going to be over. It was obviously really tough to take, and the few weeks, like I didn't really reflect on it until later on, but the few weeks was such a roller coaster of a ride for me because it was, you've won the league, you've done your ACL, like you've won all the individual awards that you won in terms of Golden Boot, Player of the Season, then you have your operation, do you know what I mean? And then it's like learning to walk again, and it was like, it was really difficult, and I don't really know how I came to terms with it at the time, but it's happened now and I'm at the end of it, so it just kind of happened like that.
And are there certain things throughout that recovery that, I don't know if you'd call them milestones or things that you've got to hit, markers along the way? What ones really stand out for you in that journey?
Yeah, obviously as soon as the season finished, I knew that I haven't got a holiday anymore, even though it's been like the longest, most demanding on my mental and physical state that it was going to be. And then now my summer's also now been taken away from me because I've got like these 3 months where they're the most important of the rehab process. I know that now as well. I was, again, it almost felt at a great time that I then had like one-on-one support just from my physio because no one else is here, everyone else is doing their own thing. It was just me and my physio for like May, June, July, and we smashed it out.
But you are very much at the back end of that journey, which is amazing for everyone to see. You have got a good chunk of the WSL left to go. You excited about that?
Well, that's the thing. So obviously when the team got promoted, I was like, well, I want to play as much part of the WSL as I can. And then little things along the way then obviously motivate me even more. And I say little things, but it's like the massive summer that Wales have got ahead. So I'm thinking, you can't not be motivated as a player coming back from injury when your team's now in the top flight and your country's now going to a major tournament. I'm thinking it's actually perfect time for me to return. I've got the last stretch of the season and then hopefully a busy football this summer as well.
Fingers crossed. I mean, we obviously spent a couple of days in Dublin together for that magical night in the playoff final. What would it mean to you to be in that squad ready for that first game against the Dutch?
Obviously everything, and now more than ever, is not that I was ever taking anything for granted before. But now when you suffer such a setback at such a stage of like my career that I was in terms of like breaking through into that starting team and like performing the way I did last year, now I'm obviously more ambitious and more excited and raring to go than ever because of the fact that that's just been taken away from me for the last 8-9 months.
Well, I for one cannot wait to see you back in the red shirt of Wales, and fingers crossed for the summer.